more difficult mid-year. If you start making some phone calls and things, you'll learn of openings that there are. We'll get to charter schools and private schools at the end here. All right, so as you start interviewing, there's a 3-step process. And I can't emphasize this enough because in the last 2 weeks, in the last 2 weeks, I've heard of someone who didn't go through this whole process, and last spring I had heard of someone who didn't go through this whole process, had a misunderstanding. Let's start first of all with the district screening interviews. In December, I think they started around December 14th, and I'm sure that Shar either handed out those dates or will be handing those dates out of when the Wasatch Front districts are coming to campus to interview.
I know I'm signed up for December 7th, so it's during that week. I think it's Monday, I think it's the 6th, is that right?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Because we don't get back.
Yeah, I've got December 5th, 6th, 7th, 9th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 16th.
She changed it to the 6th.
Yeah. So anyways, it's pretty simple. It's in fact the day after you get back from Nicaragua. So you need to get some sleep on the plane or whatever and come in wide awake and ready for those interviews. Typically at the district interview here, it is simply the most important, I shouldn't have said simply, it's the most important person for you to impress. It's the HR director of each district will come. Some of the bigger districts will bring 2 HR people, and sometimes if they feel they're interviewing a lot of you, they will bring a principal along too. This is called the screening interview. It is the first interview that you go through, and it's probably your most important one. Because in each and every district, they do kind of the same thing. They interview with you with some general questions, and in a minute I'll talk to you about what some of those general questions might be. Then the principals rank you, like it or not. They rank you, and let's say that they use the numbering system of 1 through 5, with 1 being the lowest ranking and 5 up to the highest ranking. Then what they do is they compile a list of all elementary teachers. It's not, well, it is an alphabetical list, but then with your ranking next to your name. Secondary teachers, it is compiled by a bunch of things. It's compiled by your subject matters that you pass your praxis in, and your ranking, and what you can do for extracurricular activities, because that becomes very, very, very important in your searching for a job. Even though the HR directors will tell you, no, it is based on only what you can teach academically. Push comes to shove, I need someone to coach my girls volleyball team, and I have 3 English candidates, and one of them can coach my girls volleyball team. That's who I'm going to take. Okay? So extracurricular becomes very important. They make this ranking, and then when a principal calls and says, hey, I need an English teacher, then depending on the district, different things will happen. In Granite District, and that's what I'm most familiar with because that's where I spent all my years, then the HR director would shoot me off the whole thing. Every single English person that he had interviewed with their ranking, with their extracurricular things, and then I would look at what I needed, and I would call whoever I chose for an interview, okay? In Canyon's district, and I think most districts do it the way that I just explained. Canyon's district is totally different. If I was in Canyon's district and I called them and I said I need a 2nd grade teacher at such and such a school, then the HR person sends me 5 names from their list that they've made that I can interview, and that's it. And I go through those 5 people and I choose one of them. So see why it's so important to make a very good impression in this interview that you're going to do here on campus. You either get ranked or get an interview or not get an interview in Canyon's district. Okay? So, and then let me go through all 3 things that have to happen, and then we'll go back and talk about some possibilities of questions for the district screening interviews. So that's one part of the first step that you have to take. The second part is that each district has their own paperwork that you have to fill out and turn in. A lot of the districts are online. some of them are not. Once again, this is where it becomes your job to find a job. You've got to figure out what each district requires. But regardless of whether it's online or a hard copy, I guarantee you, you will get no place if you don't fill out that paperwork. It's got to be filled out. So the screening interview is not enough. It's nice and it's very, very important. But if you don't fill out the paperwork afterwards, then it goes no place from there. And then the third step, and this is true for most districts, they expect you to, and I'm not real familiar with this because I've never used it. It's called Teachers to Teachers, and it's an online application form, and you have to fill out that also. But let's say that you do your district screening interview and you do Teachers to Teachers online, and you forget this. You're never looked at by that district. If you do your district screening interview and your district paperwork, but don't fill out Teachers to Teachers online and they require it, they never look at you. So it's all three parts. So when you're in your screening interview, one of the things you have to do, and take notes so that you don't forget, because each district is a little bit different. What do you need to do when you leave that district screening interview? Okay? So now I'm going to give you my two stories that I have about this. So last year,